Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So it looks like the food system is failing us big time. In fact, actually, I think the government is failing us big time with regards to the current food system. Not a week now goes by, okay, that I don't see in the news they'll have another food recall. Looking back on the past year, we had absolutely everything from contaminated meat, we had plastic in our food, we had some metal shavings, we had some glue in the mince pies, we had some salmonella in pastry, we had some salmonella in salad, which was a really big one, but it didn't quite get too much of the publicity, yet I've done a video on it when they found a contaminated lot of lettuces. So they literally withdrew every single or a lot of the lettuce products from the shelves. That included like salads and wraps. And unfortunately, a lot of people got ill. But again, unfortunately, they're never really publicized because they never could find who actually the farm was. Because what happens when all those products come in fact, the lettuce is from a different country, it goes into the British warehouse, gets repackaged, label is British lettuce, and there we are. So it's understood they never actually found out who the culprit was. And this is happening constantly. Okay, there is loads and loads out there of the food recalls that doesn't get publicized, and I don't understand. There is a specific website, okay, that you can check for the current food recalls, but kind of in the position of going to check up on a daily basis to see whether something you bought in the fridge is actually now contaminated and unsafe to eat. So the idea is they're meant to be put in those little pieces of paper in the supermarkets that are relevant to who sold specific product and to tell you the products are being recalled. So consumers can easily go home, find their product and return them back. Well, to be fair, for all of the recalls I've seen, I only have seen 2 notices ever. One of them was for salt and one was for some sort of a pies. Okay, salt was published actually where the product is, and the pies were published by the customer services kiosk. So makes you wonder, right, if there's a recall there, because not everybody goes to the customer kiosk. Okay, you go past your little aisles, pick up your bits and bobs. So to me, the recalls need to be published there all the time. Yet unfortunately I don't get to see many, but as it looks, it happens all the time. There's also another case of the meat contamination last year. I vaguely remember that, actually I clearly remember that, and they've been told that it was imported from, I think it was in Poland. So they said that all the meat that came in there, certain products basically contaminated. And what do you think? They haven't actually even taken them off the shelf, because I physically went there myself and found the product. So this is absolutely ridiculous. So recently what got my goat, and I do those videos because when I see something and it really starts to eat at me, I decide to then come up and talk to voice my opinion, so you guys can also discuss this and obviously let us know what you think. So currently on the recalls, literally today I've seen there were 2 brands that are recalling things. One of them is, I believe, is Heineken, that are recalling some bottles of beer because they contain broken glass inside the bottles. Broken glass, okay? And another one is actually Coca-Cola, which is now recalling tons and tons of beverages, not just the Coke itself, but Fanta and many other products, because it's got high percentage of some sort of a chemical byproduct from chlorine, and it's not particularly safe over the in the larger quantities. So they're taking a lot of the brands from many countries, okay? And currently FSA is investigating the situation in UK. So they clearly said the specific batches are contaminated, so they're taking them off other countries' shelves, okay? And yet we're currently still thinking about it. So whilst the FSA thinking about it, some people are still drinking it. Anyway, this is not the point. Well, it's actually kind of a point, but nonetheless, right, they are multi-billion-pound corporations, okay? How hard is that to make sure that your products are safe for people to consume? Apparently, clearly. But another thing that bugs me, because not actually many of the companies end up being fined for the recalls. If you think about it, right, they bring out the products into the supermarket shelves, and we're the consumers that go buy them, and you give them your money and you take the product back. So on the instances where things are severe, they get fined very little amount, and in the cases where potentially not that detrimental, as I understand, the companies don't get fined. And this is really annoys me, right? First of all, okay, there's a couple of instances for contaminated food, and the company's only been fined like £20,000. For a multi-million-pound company, £20,000 is nothing. And another thing that really bugs me, right, where do the money go? We are the consumers that bought the product, okay, and potentially consumed it, and all we're told, well, if you consumed it, really sorry, but if you still have this, bring it back and we'll give you a refund. So where's the fairness in that? Okay, how are those companies are getting away We're selling us products that have plastics, glues, metal shreddings, glass, and it's acceptable and they're getting away with that. I understand in severe cases if somebody, God forbid, got hurt by consuming something, yes, the legal action could be taken against the companies, but is the general, even if they say to you, oh, there might be a little bit of glue in your mince pie, oh, it's not a big deal if you consumed it, but, too bad, it's not really going to harm you. But the fact is, you might have consumed the mince pie with the glue. Okay, so do you see what I'm coming with this one? And what's kind of coming a bit apparent, obviously everything is corrupt in our food industry, and we know this. And this is why it's a big time I'm doing the videos of the exposing certain things, so we as a consumer can make a better decisions to what we buy. But when it comes to certain things, when you can't even make a choice or understanding because you can buy something at any point that contains something we don't want. And recently meat's been a big problem with salmonella, listeria, that kind of stuff. It's always been contaminated, yet all you do, you might have eaten that, might necessarily get severely ill, but certain symptoms are just a basic symptoms of food poisoning or even just upset tummy. So you might not even know that you had that bacteria, in fact. So do you see where I'm coming from? You've been none the wiser, you consumed it, and those people are getting away with it. Okay, their profits are absolutely horrendous in many cases, and yet we're the consumer really left shortchanged all the time. So this is time, guys, this stuff, it needs to change. We need to, as people, and I already covered this before, make different choices. Like, when we speak to Mark and the Food Finders Hub, go there, check this out, find your local butcher, find your local baker. At the same time, if you are one of them, go and register your business on there, because that will guarantee then that people who want to make a change, that rather than shopping from supermarkets, mince pies and stuff full of things we don't want, they can then go and check this out and maybe find your business and buy stuff locally. And at the same time, this is where my back to basics videos are come into play as well, because, well, we need to understand and we need to learn how to do things from scratch. Because myself, I'm making big changes to what I do and how I do things. And this comes to my shopping habits. In fact, in terms of myself trying to produce or make as much of things from scratch myself to avoid things like that, because we don't want that. And of course, growing is going to be, for me, is a big part of that, although I'm very limited on the space. But nonetheless, growing something yourself is better, especially when we're talking about the lettuces, to avoid any further issues with the outbreaks of salmonella in our lettuces, which actually happened every so far 3 or 4 years, which is pretty much ridiculous. So you can see, guys, I'm very passionate and I'm very annoyed by the fact that this is happening and people are just not really aware of the amount of recalls out there. And the main point as well, that the governments then take the money as a fine to whoever they fine it, very little of money out of that, and we as a consumer don't get anything back, considering we're the ones that potentially consume something that it's not very good for us, or in fact contaminated with metal or plastic or glue or anything else. So anyway, we need to stand as a people, we need to stand up and try to somehow change that, because this is an absolute joke. Anyway, I'm gonna stop ranting now because I'm clearly very much annoyed. But as you know, guys, those ranting videos are there to bring out some information in the true light, to make people understand what's actually is happening. So your comments, of course, are always welcome down below. Otherwise, please don't forget, thumbs up, subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye.